Let's see her. Any other attendees or other attendees? And Tim asking needs to be approved.
Allow him to talk.
It's not touch screen.
No, it's not.
Becky, can you hear us okay? Please unmute to let us know.
I can hear you now.
Thank you.
Here comes Paula.
All right, we'll wait for Paula Turk. Paula, welcome. I was just saying it wouldn't be a budget meeting without you. How many years has it been?
Wait a minute, my ear?
You're here.
Wait a minute. Hold it. Hello, Paula, did you want to write about you? Yeah. Sure. Make sure it's not just dreadful.
You lean back, it's where you are back.
You just don't, well, that would be fun, now, wouldn't it?
Right, lean back, I'm gonna be your guide, you're just studying, make sure you don't have a trip.
No, I'm fine.
You good? Okay.
I very rarely lean all the way to the chairs anyway.
Well, if you have a trip, you'll only do it once.
I'll only do it once. Mine. Oh,
All right, with all persons present, go ahead and bring this meeting to order on April 19th at 5:34 p.m. The Budget Council or the Budget Committee meeting for the year 2023-2024. And so we begin, and I will turn it over to our budget
Officer.
officer. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
To start us off.
Okay, a couple of administrative things that need to be done before we get going. And I assume everybody knows me, Paul. I don't think we've met yet. I am Rob Schultz. I think
nice to meet you.
thank you.
Should we get a roll call
If you want to, might as well. It's
for the record,
okay for the
if you
record.
don't mind?
No.
Okay, can we start with you for roll call, please?
Lastly here. Robert Davis here.
Turk here.
Judson here. Mike Walker here.
Jim, sir.
Corrigan.
HR here.
Potter here, Dean here.
ASCII online.
Heskey here.
Good. And once again, I'm Ross Schultz, so. Couple of, like I say, things that get done before we get in to the budget document. First off, election of officers. Need get that
I nominate Mike Walker.
Second.
for what? We have to get a vice chair.
I can say it.
Okay.
Let's budget up.
always want to start them off with a joke, you know?
Yeah,
Okay, so this is for chair,
yes,
budget committee chair,
yeah.
okay? I've got Mike on the list. Anybody else? Any other nominations? Hearing none, close the nominations. All in favor of Mike doing the job?
Aye.
Opposed?
That wasn't
Didn't
a
ask you
question.
if you wanted to.
Yes, I did. He said no.
At this point, I will turn the meeting over to Mike and a couple of things that you must do tonight, if I may. One, as a vice chair would be a good thing, your choice. You must have comments from the public or specify a date certain of when you will have comments from the public in order to make this a legal budget meeting. My recommendation would be, before we get going on the budget, have a conversation about how long we're gonna take at this meeting. I found that if you go much over 2 hours, people's eyes glaze over and you're not productive to begin with. So I would suggest checking in about an hour and a half someplace and seeing what the pleasure of the committee is to move on. And then if we have a second meeting, and of course, who knows? But if you have a second meeting, you need a certain time or a date certain for that. So with those things, I'm ready to present the budget message and the budget. Your direction.
So I will ask for a secondary budget officer. Anybody have any recommendations?
I'm gonna nominate Brian Jameson.
I second that.
All those in favor?
I.
Okay, who, thank you, sir. Yeah, everybody's agreeable. I like to be out of here by 8. Yeah, that's probably enough. And Ross has done such a great job, shouldn't he?
Yeah.
I think third. I liked him more every time I see it.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Okay, Ross, if you want to proceed with the budget message.
Okay, so we're out by 8 and
Well, we have a meeting set for the 19th already.
or the 26th.
26th, okay.
I am unfortunately not gonna be able to make the 26th after I set it up, but maybe that's one of the things we can do as we close is get everybody's calendar together and figure out when that needs to be. Okay, well, then, all of that having been done, what about, public or comments from the public?
They were invited, there are none here, so.
Well, because all you have to do is say any comments from the public, if you don't mind.
Do we
And
have any comments from the public? Not hearing any, but move forward.
okay, thank you. We did that, so we can check that on. This is my budget message. So budget committee, thank you all very much for showing up and dedicating your time. Although this is one of kind of usually the toughest things to do for cities, it's kind of one of the most important. Before you is the 2023-24 Yamhill City Budget. I'm assuming everybody's got a copy, and administratively, you should have a copy of this, which is the official budget message. There are some that have this document, which is nothing but my best find at the capital improvement plan for the city. There's no single document that exists that I could find that is up to date. So these are the best capital projects that we have and what we're going off of in the budget. It's not part of the document, but in case somebody wants to look at it, you're welcome to it. And some of you that picked your budget up already had a couple of single sheets that I would like you to insert in the budget if you will. Otherwise, we've gone ahead and updated the document. So as you can see from the first paragraph of the budget message that I showed you, this document has been prepared to with a fairly robust set of rules and best practices from federal, state, and industry standards. There's GAP, there's GASB, there's GFOA, the Department of Revenue, and some other state law that this budget does comply to. As you look at the budget, you'll see that the two biggest issues for the coming year, at least that I could find, are the general fund. The general fund right now has drawn down the money that we received for the COVID reimbursement, a fairly large chunk. We had a big beginning balance at the beginning of this year. And if you look at the budget message on the second page, you'll see I included a little chart that, well, it's not on that chart, unfortunately, but the general fund is drawn down about $250,000 a year more than it makes. That's going to be a concern as you go forward. You've got the coming budget year where everything looks really pretty good. But I would expect subsequent years will be a lot harder pressed. The beginning balance for the general fund is very conservative. I think as the year progresses and we get close to the end of the year, we'll be able to adjust that beginning balance. And what is right now a $10,000 contingency in the general fund will be higher. I won't say substantially, but it will be higher. So that's just what I've seen in the budget for the general fund. Obviously, the other thing that we're looking at, and you guys experienced it, that's running out of water and having days where you had to be rationed. That's the other thing I think that's important in this budget. We're working towards getting the citizens of Yamhill in a situation where they're not having to ration. You'll see page 1 that the other 19 funds are really pretty much flat. The budget document that I've assembled is basically the budget document from last year with updated numbers. So you should be able to take a look through it and be familiar with what's there. The budget does include a 4% cost of living increase for staff, where it's not dictated by CBA or negotiation. It also includes a rate increase of 4% for water and 4% for sewer fees. I did talk to Mr. Tice about that increase, and he indicated that with the budget committee's approval, he would give us a good recommend in terms of whether that is a base rate or whether that is an increase at the top end. He has a couple of recommendations on a way to get there. So it's a little bit backwards to some degree. We've got to respond to a 4% cost of living for staff and probably a 12% increase for utilities. So that's the reason that I included those amounts. By the way, CPI for 2023 is projected at 6%. So, and that's CPI in Northwest. So I think a 4% is probably pretty reasonable. That's kind of my budget message for the budget document. I've got a written copy as you see in front of you, but that's the highlights. I guess at this point, I'd ask you if there's any questions on the budget message, the process, or the budget document. Obviously, we're going to go through the document and turn the pages, but before we get going, any comments? Yes, sir.
I have a question.
Yes.
Are you, after you do some analyzing here, are you gonna be prepared to make some suggestions on how we can increase some revenues that will help us and maybe bring us up more to date in some areas? in contrast to some of the differences there are between our city and other cities.
Sure. Yeah, I guess at the appropriate places, let's talk about those. Because when we get to the general fund, we'll have that compost that's gonna be pretty quick, but
Yeah.
we'll start that conversation on. Is that all right? We'll get back in.
Good.
Any other questions or comments on the process? Yes, sir.
So
You're wrong.
normally we decide up front whether we are going to approve them fund by fund or wait till the end. and approve it.
Well, I was kind of thinking, my approach would be to just start turning the pages. I think tonight we should be able to get through water and probably the sewer tab and maybe into the special funds. And then I was thinking the next time we meet, go through the other tabs.
Understood. That was gonna be my suggestions. We don't approve them fund by fund. We wait
No.
till then our budget and approve it in.
Yep. I think that's a good word. That's up to the committee though, to make that choice. I'm here to do your bidding, whichever way you want to go. Yeah.
Is everybody okay with the approach? We can go in and approve the whole thing. Otherwise, we can't make changes without.
And by also, thank you for reminding me. When the committee makes a change, I'll document it and then tomorrow or the next day, I'll write it down and make sure I respond back to the committee at our next meeting with either updated pages or not updated.
Is there an electronic version of this yet?
Oh, yeah. I gotta say, one of the things that I did inherit was an Excel spreadsheet that all this ties together. So if I go into the general fund and update a number, it kicks through the rest of the report. So
So you got a clean copy of it, the minutes for it?
I sure do. And I got one at home, I got one here, and I sent one to him, so.
Okay, that was one of the issues last year, is we never could get a clean copy. Some, the links were broken on most of it, a lot of it, because it had been saved and,
Well, I
you know,
spent a lot of time going back and fixing links.
yeah, I'm
So-
sorry that you had to do that,
Hey.
but.
You know, it was part of the job, so.
So, Mr. Schultz, will we, be able to get a electronic copy of this, document tonight?
Probably no, because the document's got stuff in it that's not included in the book.
I see.
And I don't. I could do it, but I just don't have the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think at the end, when all the changes are made, I'd be glad to
Oh, okay,
share an electronic copy of them.
all right.
Right.
I just want to let everybody know that Andy Fowler is sitting in, he's been generous enough so that I can pay attention to budget, not have to do minutes, so he's taking minutes. But he is somewhat unfamiliar with everyone in the room, so if we can kind of just say who we are for the first few times, she may already have it down, but not being able to see all the name tags. And I know.
I can see most of them.
So just kind of maybe who you are, so it should be most.
Thank you. Good. Is everybody ready to start turning the first pages?
Any other comments? Okay. Ross, it's all yours.
Off to the races, table of contents. Once again, as I stated, the book is very similar to last year's. I've kind of updated the contents and I've moved a few things around from last year just to suit me and not necessarily for any particular clandestine reason. So that's the table of contents. Moving on to the next page, and I'm just going to keep going. Please do stop me if I start rolling too fast or you've got a question. Once again, this is the same as it was last year. Describes the different plans that we have. I will say that there are no new funds included in this document that weren't there last year. Staff and I did talk about, and when we get there, including a storm fund, which we don't have right now. If I had to do this budget again, which likely I won't, I would sit down with the auditor and see if we couldn't reduce the number of funds that are in this document. You've got 21 funds and a lot of them have $9,000, $5,000, $10,000. They just, it's extra work because every time you go through one of these, you gotta treat that fund like a real living animal and it's difficult. And I don't think it adds anything to the transparency for the citizens. If anything, it makes it more confusing. So moving right along from the funds, comments. There's an ice sheet on the information and the year the funds were started and renewed. I don't think this isn't mandatory in budget law, but it's a nice thing to have. General information, city financial factors. This is identical to last year, I will tell you, because I didn't modify any of it. I'm on page 6 now, which shows a new organization chart. You will find this different from last year. The last year's organization chart had all of the department heads reporting to the mayor as opposed to the department heads reporting to the city administrator. I think this is more indicative of what council's goal was with setting up an administrator. So I did make that change.
Page 6,
Yes, sir.
since accuracy is somewhat important and we've gone for several years without that accuracy. Under planning commission, it identifies that we have 5 planning commissioners who are who do reside in the city, but we don't. We have 4, and 1 is outside. And if we're gonna identify ourselves in specifics, it needs to be accurate.
Okay. 4 in the city, 1 at large. I'll make that change. Moving on to the next, is basically a description of the next page, which is the budget calendar. Already I've told you I can't make the 26th, and I apologize. I wish there was some other way around it for me, but there isn't. So we'll have to set up the next meeting, if there is a next meeting, but we can get back to that. Okay. The next page, I got 7.2, which are the budget pies. And what budget would be complete without these 2. Basically, I think the information that it shows here is the one that's surprising and is good news to everyone, but its contingency is $2,250,000 in your document this year. That's how much money you'll take into next year. That's the great news. The bad news in that is it's mostly in SDC funds, and SDC funds are probably the most restrictive in terms of what you can do with them. But it's not like you're going broke, so you've got some money there. I wish this slide was in color for most of you. I see some black and whites, but it does show that personal services is a very large expense for us. And capital outlay is a large expense. So that's the first budget. Any questions on that slide? Turning right along to the next page, which is the budget by department. And department is basically the aggregate of several funds that make up the departments, but in general, you can see what the dollar value is. And it totals at the bottom to the very first page, which I've been checking in the document to make sure those links don't go down. So any questions on that?
I do have a thought
Okay,
relative to the 2 graphs that you have referred to and
yes,
the total amounts of each of those areas. do you think it would be appropriate? Because when we're going through this process, it's a pretty large process and it consumes a fair amount of time. Which if we were doing a work session
Mhm.
outside of this time period, we could talk about, we could investigate, we could evaluate, and maybe come up with some ideas and thoughts that could be utilized.
Well, I mean, the whole thought behind the budget committee is that anything that is a further thought than that really needs to go through council where, you know, some cities have a finance committee where they actually do that kind of talking outside the budget committee. But that would be up to council to direct that and move that. The budget committee has fairly specific goals and fairly specific things in the process that it's supposed to go through.
Right. Okay. I'll accept that for the moment.
Okay. Moving right along, any questions on the first section that you had just completed? Okay, I'm moving into the general fund, which is the next tab that you have. That general fund. See, don't think. I think what I'd like to do is pass this out. If you could just put the copy of it and change it on down. I think it is kind of a nice little summary. I punched holes in it so you can insert it where you want to in the general fund. Our revenues are down this coming year. And the reason for that is basically COVID payments that we're not receiving anymore this year. You can go back the 2021 actual and 22 actual and look at what the adopted budget is for 23 and see what the differences are. Anyway, that's our total resources on page 10. Once again, just want to remind you, these are reasonable and expected as far as I can see.
Ross, are we gonna go through these line by line?
I hadn't anticipated that. Is there something in there that you wanted to talk about?
I've got a lot of questions
Well,
and we probably help with this.
sure.
Line 5 on the one, you've got liquor tax at 18,000
Yes.
this year. And all the previous years have been 19 to 21. Why
Yes.
the drop in revenue on liquor?
Okay. Just a conservative approach. I don't know.
Same thing with item 4, cigarette tax,
Yeah.
2,200 last year, now it's 15.
People are smoking less. No,
If you look back at the history though, for the 21-22, we're 1,013, so I think 15 is probably
Might be a bit high.
2022 probably budgeted high last year. But the liquor tax, I just. And then the same way with line 8, the miscellaneous police income, you have at 7. They've run anywhere from 10 to 17,000 a year.
What are special circumstances? What exactly goes into that?
There's all kinds of stuff that goes in that. This surplus of the vehicle will go into the, police, request reports. Will go into that money that's collected from the county, from cases that we sent there. Just all, just kind of, yeah.
So liquor tax we have received to date, $18,574. So, that could be low and could be raised. we
We
might,
can always go over, can't we?
Yeah.
Considering we have no contingency, then suggest we the one with the most.
are there other questions on the line items?
Line 8, the police service,
So that's police miscellaneous.
or police miscellaneous. We're currently at 92 and for the year you're 7.
So let's resolve that when police are here. Is that a good number or a bad one, the $7,000?
For the miscellaneous, then.
Yeah, for police miscellaneous. It's at 9,200 right now. This year. So far today, yeah.
I propose we raise it from 7 to 10.
Looks reasonable to me. Okay, I'll make that change.
So you're thinking we're gonna get 800 in the next 2.5 months? From just
Potentially.
miscellaneous stuff?
Rather keep it conservative.
I just drop off.
This is revenue coming in, so it should raise.
Yeah, but the thing is, that it's revenue that you put it in here and you spend it and don't get it in trouble.
Yeah, I would be a little bit more conservative and put it at 9.
9?
Yeah. Because. You know, I don't like it, yeah, I mean, I just don't want it to, I don't wanna have an income item be too high, you know?
Yeah.
You don't have to spend it if you get it.
I like the conservative.
It was 6 last year, so. It could be 7.
Yeah.
And if you look, and there are variable factors as to why that change took place. To be discussed, but the different house bills that are taking place, and some forgiveness things that are taking place, there's a lot of things that we don't know if we're gonna get the income. I did do a project initiative to kind of wipe some of that off the board, so it doesn't keep getting brought up as far as the fees that haven't come in for citations and so forth, and then working with the, our provider that says, if we're gonna go after them to do collection, you know, to go after that effort, at the end, but there's so many variables right now that we are even getting, people aren't paying. For many reasons, but we're just not paying, and that has to do with the municipal court as well as the circuit court and those things coming in.
So you're more comfortable with that.
I'm more comfortable with being conservative at this point.
Leave it at 7.
Okay, it's at 7.
There we go.
Next, Brian, what's your other question?
And the council might be able to, didn't the franchise fees go up? Or the holiday? Did those fees go up? Or going up?
You'd like to see him go that way.
I just wonder if that 48 is actually included. The increase.
Actually, we're at 55,940 right now. That number
Yeah.
could probably go up. Kim, is there any reason why we couldn't raise that number
What
to
are we at?
55?
The franchise fees.
Is there anything pending out there, you know, that would reduce that number year to year? Okay, let's raise that one to 55. We're there today, but it sounds like a safe bet.
Okay. In line 21, your interest, you get it 93.
So I did my interest in all of the funds. I just took the beginning balance and then multiplied it times 0.04. And I did that all the way through. I think interest is a crapshoot. I'm not interested in. I mean, you can up and down it, but you won't make more than 10,000 in the whole budget if it jumps by 2%. So anyway, I just believe a conservative approach.
Based on the interest income that we're receiving from,
Well, we were talking about conservative on just earlier, so now you're at 93.
So what is your methodology to get there?
I'm looking at history.
Yeah, but that doesn't have anything to do. History was at 2%, 1%.
The history is low. It was 35.52 in 2021, 23.48 year before that.
For 5,000.
We budgeted for 5 last year, but now we jumped to 9, so
and
interest is down and our money is less. We have some in May, so why did it go up by 3 times?
Well, and then if I go year to date, you're at 12,000. Is that correct for us?
Yeah, I mean, you are, but will those interest rates hold? I mean,
Yeah. But then we're gonna have less money.
6% plus, and you've got less money as your beginning balance. You had 447,000 last year, so. I mean, you can. I just think a methodology to do that and then let it come or go, whichever way it's gonna be.
I'm okay with leaving it there.
The line 30, the SRO, is that 12.5 grade or 10? Because there was another number back here later on, it's 12.5. In the budget. Okay,
What would you like to do with that?
I would just clarification,
Okay,
because I've seen a number later on that was 12.5 in the budget for
Again,
SRO.
typically, I think that might have to do with some of the things that the minimum that we have to pay. To benefits, which are.
I didn't know if the school was giving you more money or not. Okay,
No, they do not. That's a conversation.
okay.
And item 36, the tax levy went down.
no, that's calculated based on the appraised value for the city stated by the county. And I think there's a sheet in the back that shows it. That's the way it was done last year, so I did it that way this year. If it were me, I'd just take the number from last year, multiply times 3% and include that number, but I didn't do it that way.
Because last year it was 83 or 838,000 and now it's 566.
That's the total, that's not the taxes.
That's total resources.
Yeah, no, I got that.
Taxes is one line down, where you see 340 for taxes necessary to balance.
Yeah, but I'm looking at the resource. The resource went down.
That's a total number for
We had grants.
the
last year.
numbers up
We had
above,
Increase that number by a bit.
and you don't have the,
130,000.
Well, you're saying that's the total for all the columns above?
yes,
Oh. Okay,
Line 37 is the taxes to be received.
yeah, I got that.
36.
Okay.
So what number did you use, Ross, for the,
there was a formula in the spreadsheet that basically showed the appraised value for the city of Yamhill from the county. I've got the document in there if you want to look at it. I used that times our rate. Our tax rate.
you added 3% to that county number?
No, I did not, because that's the county number, and they supposedly do that for you. So.
No, that's last year's number. They're
Right,
always a year behind.
right,
So normally you take that number and add 3% to it. And then do your calculation for 23, 24. That was the same issue we had last year.
well, I'll recheck that rate. So I'll do that before.
That adds about another 10,000 to your general fund income.
Any other numbers that need discussion on this page?
One of the questions I had on that page.
Could I just get a clarification that on line 31, police service fee, that's the $5 for the water, one comes on your water, okay. So did we receive like approximately 29,000?
He's got the.
We received, that's.
right now, we've received 22,800. We're at about 78% saturated on that one, so we've still got May and June to go, so we'll be close.
Okay, all right.
It doesn't look like we're gonna hit the 29. Okay. So on this page, I am upping the franchise fee to 55K. I'm gonna review the tax levy. And is there anything else?
You were gonna look at the liquor tax.
I was 18,500 today. Okay. I'll review that. Okay. Next. Looking at the council, let's go. What are your questions? No, I've got $5,500. There's an increase in dues, travel and training. And I think a lot of that has to do with being able to take advantage of free classes from the League of Oregon cities and conferences that counselors should go to and should get their training. I think those are good things. Okay, and I'm headed on to the next page, 12, which is administration.
Did we want to cover the community support requests?
Claire, the only one I'm saying is from homework.
We haven't gotten another request.
Not that I have seen.
The transit person was here at the last council meeting. Correct?
Yeah, but she wasn't looking for money. She was just looking for us to doctor TSP,
Okay.
and then they'll get money, you know.
All right,
Okay. How much is that request in Homeward Bound, Karen, you know?
I think it's whatever, I think you usually give them $500.
we typically do 500 per agency for a total of 2,000 a year.
Okay. Is there some way to ask should I go through last year's agencies and send them a note, say, hey, it's budget time?
Well, I know the YDA Downtown Association is wanting to do lights, and they come to us every year and ask us to help support putting the lights, the cost of the lights on the city hall. And so, and we've never had the funds to do that.
I
Okay,
believe they asked for 650 for the lights this year,
They did.
was for this specific building.
But do we know if we're doing something different this year that they won't need that from us?
We really want to.
We want to.
They were hoping in having half of what we budget for the fire department that they don't use. And they were
Correct.
looking for the other 500 off with the 1,000 that we budgeted for the fire department.
Correct. So they asked for about 500.
Yes, 500 additional,
Correct. I agree.
yes.
We were looking at different options.
But we are looking at different options.
Yeah, that's not guaranteed we're gonna do CBC this year. If there's any other options.
so who is the person that runs that railroad?
That would be Kara Weber.
Can we send her a nice polite note? It says it's time and can
I think
propose.
that's great.
Do you want to put a number in there now or when?
I would like to, and I think 500 would be reasonable.
Campbell County.
Probably in their organization.
Who?
Danville County mediators.
So we bumped it to 25?
Overall? Or,
Yeah. Or
well, we're not doing the transit. So.
500 for downtown, right?
500 for downtown. Mhm. And what about YCT? I know they've asked previously,
And homeward bound.
and Homeward Bound 500.
Yeah.
So
You wanna do that?
YCTC
is actually a great thing, because they do all the intermediate, that elementary, intermediate sports. And without it, they don't have, our kids don't have anything. The high school doesn't let us use any of their equipment, so we have to purchase all of our own tool licenses.
And it funds scholarship for students that have difficulty paying.
So the YDA, are they gonna be 650 or 500?
5.
So that's $2,000.
So YCP, is that a new line item?
And it's in place of the transit,
At 500, you're thinking?
500 for each. The downtown association, the mediators, the YCPC, and Lumber Ground Tech, which all of them support the community. Yeah, that's directly, exactly.
Okay,
Are we taking, so you're taking transit out?
yes,
My understanding?
They didn't ask for funding, that's what, right?
No, they didn't ask for any. kind of-
Hmm.
With their TSP plan, I was just thinking on those lines.
okay,
Well, tell us what you're thinking.
The others is donation.
Yeah, so, but it's just something we need to update as a city, that Cynthia was here representing, or TSP plan is non void, you know, it's not even updated, it doesn't exist. So,
okay, so moving right along to the next page. I'll get those values put in on the,
Thank you, Rod.
general fund admin. One of the things that I will tell you straight up, this is the first one that's got dollars and cents for people. Our payroll has been moving around. It got solid about last Thursday, where I physically had numbers to work with. I believe the numbers that I included here are reasonable. I'm not certain they're expected, and I want to have the opportunity to go back through the budget with the numbers that I now have, and I just haven't had that time. So, you can ask me questions, and I'll be glad to answer to the best of my ability, but I don't feel like I can give you a solid answer, and some of these numbers may change. I don't think they're gonna change big, but I just haven't had that time to double check them. So,
We'd like to skip personal services for now. And
yeah, unless there's something that's glaring there and you're saying, hey, why are you doing anything?
No, I'm missing Ross is line 6 is the payroll cost.
Yes,
Yeah, there's nothing on here.
Yeah, I'm not quite certain why there's no payroll cost in it.
That's about $37,000 a year. Yeah, your
Yeah.
contingency is gone.
I just, once again, I haven't had the time to pick the things that I would like to in the payroll area, so. That could be a big issue for, I will tell you that the payroll costs were included in the budget at exaggerated numbers, and so we'll see.
so the only other question I have is item 20. Which I just have a question about what this money is really going for. Last budget, we elected to add $5,000 to the city's budget for a new website, which the new website has not shown up yet. And I see it's at 10,000, which also includes IT, which I'm not sure what that actually involves, and now it's 12,000. So I'm just curious what these monies are going for and why they keep going up, even though we don't have a new website yet. And that was $5,000 worth.
I think that you'll find that these costs are gonna continue to rise as the city exists. We had some starts and stops and people that didn't treat us very well from information technology needs. The new website that you say doesn't exist. it's gonna be a lot more than $5,000.
I think someone quoted me 20.
That's, I can just tell you that off the cuff. I think these costs are gonna continue to rise. I don't know how you get away from it, but, I can get you probably details if you really want to see the details of what those expenditures are, but, it's a sad commentary, I'm afraid, but every small city's got the same issues. You're required to have some sort of a presence and be able to put things online.
Yeah, no, I understand.
But,
I was just wondering about the extra IT section of it that was there, and I was just wondering, because I know the police department had trouble with their IT, but I didn't think the city had trouble
We
with
have the
their IT.
same IT.
Yeah,
Oh, it's the same? Oh, gee, I'm sorry.
yeah,
You have no idea.
No, I guess I do. Yeah,
it's, it's not a pretty picture. I
Yeah.
think that's probably a line item you're gonna see continue to
yeah,
grow. I don't think it's gonna be substantial growth, but it's gonna continue
yeah,
just to grow.
okay, well, that's good. I'm good.
Okay. Anything else on administration other than the fact there's no payroll costs? Which, by the way, are today are only $12,900 as opposed to the 38.
But that'll change if you get your city administrator and
Yeah,
your admin clerk and all that.
Janitorial, Kim, when was the last time you gave our janitor an increase?
She's such a rare, and then she's also gonna cleaning down.
Yeah, she took on extra duties doing, the facility. How's that going, by the way?
wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah.
But his department, I don't.
Would have to pay for it separate.
Services.
Okay.
She has enough.
We don't want to take the initiative to increase, okay, with what it's at. Okay.
Anything else for administration? I've got to get the payroll costs on the document next. The police, with this, I'm gonna turn the meeting over to Steve, and any questions you might have, please direct them.
I commend Ross, he's being, guy about the amount of work that he put into this, he put a lot of work into it. And there have been extreme challenges, just the fact that a lot of people, you don't have to write all this. A lot of people aren't aware of it, so this is an Excel spreadsheet. And then you have to work through page 3, to end up on page 12 and page 75 and so forth. Not to go into detail, but knowing why, and that was all done. Because there were too many numbers apparently, is what I heard. So there were a lot of pages that were completely missing, all of the formulas weren't working, so. I will say, and probably to point of the previous page as to why there are numbers there, and so please catch those, because we want to know. Because pages were deleted, and formulas were deleted, and these numbers are supposed to transpose over the different pages, and they're not going to. We've caught, Ross has caught, Kim has caught a lot of them, they're still gonna be. Just be mindful of that, and that's the answer as to why. And Ross has caught a lot of that, and there will be more.
Our last budget season, several pages were deleted. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and formulas.
Along with them.
That A plus B plus arithmetic plus minus. Yeah.
So I have a question on 15. How is it that the vehicle maintenance went down?
I'll start at the top and then I might answer the question, and then I'll ask if we have any questions. Easier dialogue that way, in my opinion. So if that's the only question, awesome, but the personnel costs, there is, there's an association that the officers have, that there's. I know we all, but I actually. I'll answer that when I get to it. So there's, personnel costs, and within the personnel costs, there's association, so there's a minimum that can be done. The challenge I had is to try to do that, with the a corporal position, the police officer position is still open, but vacant. And it won't be filled, so there was a officer that was, promoted to corporal. So it has an empty line item for police officer, which I will keep there. Then there's the police officer position, which is the traffic officer and corporal position. So there's an association. So there's a minimum balance, percentage wise that has to be done. I met that minimum balance for those two positions. And then I added a 1% for the corporal position, which isn't a whole lot. And that's still within that police officer position. If that makes sense. So if you have any questions about that for the personnel, please let me know. And there's,
You added 1% for the traffic officer,
I don't know what one you're looking at. What's the number that you have?
66,200,
The 66,200.
so
Yeah,
that would be 5%.
okay. And then maybe you misunderstood or I misspoke. So with the corporal position. Yeah, there's a 5% plus one and. Yeah, let me make math in my head, 6. So 1% above that, if that makes sense, which is still within, because it's basically from 5 to 7% is what I have to work with within that association. And that's not even any bonus at all. Just within their association. Answer your question.
What's the association with that contract? Is that-
Union. So it's a union, but it's preference to have an association. For the officers,
So they, under contract. with the-
union contract.
And they specifically said they get a minimum 5%.
There's the minimum of step increase of 3% and plus cost of living, which is start at 2% up to 4%.
3% plus.
Yes. Church, math, 5%. Based on the- yeah. Any question? So then also we, to answer probably what has been inquired already is that fortunately, we are getting back on track with the rotation of new vehicles. We're still 2 years behind. But we will have new vehicles, which will help to a certain extent drop our vehicle maintenance. We still have a 2010 vehicle that will be a vehicle to be on the road, but that will be the oldest one, the newer ones. At this point, now that we're just vehicle maintenance. As far as going in and having an oil change, tire rotation, and then new tires and including. But we still have one that we're having mechanical issues with, that we're gonna have to include with this budget. So we'll have new vehicles that will help immensely. So what was done there is in conversation. It's challenging, especially with fuel prices. So we split it out to down at the bottom. It's a separate line for fuel usage. Because that was always included in vehicle maintenance, which always presented an extreme challenge, but for me to be able to figure out if it was time for this and what's time for that, and where's the fuel at. So those two line items were split up. So one vehicle maintenance is 10, and then the fuel is at 12. And I'm believing that might answer the question, but
We had a request at the last budget meeting to see more about the fuel, so both in public works and in police, I'm trying to break out a line, so probably not gonna be very accurate this year with our estimate, but as we get years ahead, identifying how much fuel we're using, you'll be able to make a better budget guess for the coming years.
yeah, it'll be close and less challenging because we use the app-based program now that tracks all much easier than we're trying to do. And with that, we also have a new vehicle that's been ordered in 2023 Dodge Durango that ordered a few months ago that is still on word as to when it goes done, but so we're waiting on that. So there'll be a cost included for that, so our big for it. And because this year, all vehicles will be paid off, and then so then next year, we get 5-year lease for the vehicle. So that will help cut down on the vehicle maintenance costs. There will be some added costs that I'll have to kind of use out of equipment because that vehicle is a fleet vehicle, so it comes as a package. And it is pursuit rated, which if people don't know that doesn't mean it's only used for pursuits, which later in terms of. But it's a fleet vehicle that does not, part of that package come with the decals. Or maybe the tenting or the separations of the cage of the vehicle, or I also have a fleet divider. So that's a separate cost, that'd be about $4,786, because that includes the radar, which would be about $3 billion. So right off the top of next year's budget, that's gotta be coming out somewhere with that new vehicle, or from the cost of the vehicle. Other than that, that kind of, everything else is right in line with last year. The vehicle maintenance is still that complicated, but it's the same as it was the last couple of years. It's just now split up with the fuel cost of 12, vehicle maintenance for that 10. Hope that answered everyone's questions, or if they're gonna have one.
Answered mine.
Okay.
So I have a question about 31. Your vehicle lease went down because you are done with your leases? Is that what you said?
All of the vehicles that we currently own, the city owns. They were on lease program, so pretty much we buy them for $1 and then we own them. City owns them. There will be the one new vehicle and that will be it, and that will be on a 5-year lease program. So the cost would be about $12,346.00 off of the budget for the next year's vehicle. The total cost of that's $54,929.44.
Right.
So we get right out and when we paperwork done, ready to go, we wait for the vehicle.
Yeah. Okay. Good deal. Thank you.
So just on the line item number 1, so I show a jump from 85 to 99.5, which is 15%. So is that original starting number wrong?
The current one, I have never, I've been here a little while, talked about what I should make or I'm not to
You
make.
got a budget, so
Yeah,
that doesn't mean that.
right. Yeah, so I've never done that, but there was some conversation and that there would be an agreement, but it depends on what is decided. That's what that would be. And the reason I say that is I have never negotiated my wage. I've never asked for a raise. I have been very committed to the city. At some point, there is no deadline. The record, you can write that down for when I'm retiring specifically. But I will be retiring at some point, and if I leave, that position needs to be marketable and right now. That answers that.
Yep.
I don't know what people found, but yeah, currently it is 5, or it's currently at 90, and some say 85, and some say, oh, yeah, but yeah, currently.
Anybody else have any more questions?
I do, National Night Out expense, it has increased, is that enough?
You can go through each of these line items, I'm not doing it. And yeah, I think you could ask that same question. It's what I feel, is something that isn't asked, that would be answered as, that would work. We do fundraisers and so forth, we do have some funding, but that's a minimal amount. For example, overtime, if you look at our overtime,
Yeah, the overtime's crazy low.
the average for a agency of this size, comparable agency, about 25 to 30 minutes. Period.
We didn't use that much funds for national night out.
Okay.
It's something that's, yeah, it's something that's important, and that the community really gets involved with, but it's, we could use more, but that's something that I feel we could do, because we could do funding. The community gets real involved.
And you take donations there as well.
And we, cash in, or we can.
Thank you.
Ready to move on, Russ?
Okay, I have no changes on that page. I'm moving on to municipal court. Tim and I have had a couple of discussions about that. I think if you look at the schedule that's on the budget message, you'll find that court is not paying for itself. And, that would concern me, except Kim seems to think, and I don't mean that in a negative way, I mean it in a positive way. That, with COVID, we hit an all-time low with court. I think because there was so much forgiveness in the world, people just stopped coming and not paying the tickets. She seems to think that that's turning around, and I would believe her. She's been here for a while and knows what she's doing, so.
Well, and with the passage of that House bill didn't help, where you couldn't get suspended for not paying your fines.
Right.
House Bill 4065 back in 2020. So people just, even people with clean driving records didn't show up. But we're trying to change things, trying to turn it around. Had more people in court last month than I've seen them.
So we're hopeful that that comes back and that becomes a source and not a use.
And I might preface also just, independent of the police officers, they are still out writing. Report, they're still out writing citations, doing enforcement. That hasn't changed. It's just that people are not paying, which goes back to what I talked about earlier, with the project initiatives and start trying to get the people, the ones that are on the books, that keep get brought us from 20 years ago. To move those away.
And we do have a new judge that shares a different way of doing things and bringing fresh ideas to get it.
Any questions on municipal court?
Well, I was just going, looking at personnel,
I do have the payroll costs this time.
you got payroll cost, great. You said a 4% increase overall. The numbers going from last year to this year show about 11%.
The issue that we've got, and I didn't do a very good job of explaining it, but the payroll numbers that I have on what people actually make today with past increases that were there is what I am going off of right now, and I just haven't had the time to check those. I will tell you that the 19,963 is probably wrong.
Well, I know that even raises, they're only in effect until they get a city administrator. And then that may revert back to their, so that's gonna change all of your.
There's a further reaching dynamic that's part of this whole thing, and the payroll issue is everybody here, and please forgive me, counsel, with apologies, I'm just being honest. It looks like they've all just got rates based on, because there's no, gee, we have a scale that goes 1 through 10, and rate 1 is utility worker 1, and he gets or she gets between this and this. I think that table needs to be put in place as part of a personnel review. Because right now, Kim and I were going through this today, and bless her heart, because she's been working hard on this. She gave me 2 rates for the same person. And I said, but which one is right? She was, well, this one's right if you do this, and this one's right if you do that. And I'm sitting going, that's why I said I really want time to get through all of that. And I don't think it'll make large changes. I don't think you're going to see a $100,000 swing or something, but all of these numbers I think are going to change.
I'm just playing devil's advocate.
No, please.
Because in your budget message, you say 4%, and if anybody does the calculations, we're at 11, and there's some at 29.5%.
Yeah,
Well, and remember when these titles
Yeah, change.
changed, so the 2 numbers were,
So it's,
like, at that time, they were normal job. And then the other one on what they're doing now, so.
it's something to kind of explain that, because I can see some people in the public reading this and going,
yeah.
you say a 4% in your budget message, but over here you're saying something different and
I took the best hourly rate I had. And the one that came with the spreadsheet from last year, and I increased it by 4%. That's how I generated these numbers, but the thing I didn't have was what the payroll system has done differently, so. To tell you the truth, I'm not quite certain how to get to the bottom of it, I just need the time to. Fortunately, there's only 10 employees or something, it's not like I've got thousands to do, I want a couple hours where I can sit down and check them off, so.
I don't want to see the council get inundated with people in here saying, I mean, this out, because I'm sure there's some people in the public that will
Do the math.
do the math.
Well, I might take the 4% out of my budget message and say, they're gonna get what they're gonna get.
Or just put it in class, 4% in class, that covers it,
Yeah,
So just,
so you're gonna see
would
that,
cover it.
4% in class.
Can you maybe put it as part of your statement, saying there was interim positions in the
Yeah.
absence, or there was
Just say-
out of class work?
yeah.
I'm just trying to save some headaches down the road.
No,
Well, you're gonna see that all the way through the budget document, so.
Yeah.
Now I have a chance to really work it through. Municipal court, any other than the HR stuff? Okay, then I'm turning the page to the park department. And once again, the HR stuff is probably suspect. I think it's reasonable, just may not be expected.
Or are you gonna do a part-time? This summer at the park, the part-time help at the park, yeah,
You're getting an FTE for part-time help, $1,300.
that was just new that. Been taken up for a while, and no utility to worker, correct?
Don't go utility.
And we put our security cameras back in there at $7,500. I don't know how much we'll get for that, but that's just a placeholder.
I know we budgeted 10,000 last year,
Yeah,
And I got bids around 12.5.
that's what I thought. So I don't think your 75, it's not gonna be enough. Honestly, I'd like to see that increase, see those cameras done.
do you have a legitimate bid at 12.5? I mean, is that turnkey or do you have to do something?
No, that's turnkey.
Yeah.
2 cameras and a whole new system. Readout of public works.
7,500 is not enough.
That was a hot topic at our last year's budget meeting, and that's why.
we added 5,000.
That's why we went to 10,000 to get that done.
Yeah.
That's our executive.
So far.
Any way, well, is there any way you can get it done this year, 10,000, and take the other 2,500 out of next year's budget?
Yeah, I mean, yes is the answer. Yeah,
Well,
I mean, we have seen from an operational standpoint, the staff. Being more present up there, there's been less damage, less to report. I mean, it's been off and both,
so why don't we just take it out of the budget next year, buy it this year? We'll overrun, and if we do, we'll do a supplemental. Explain the difference.
if you did 10 out of this year's and then just
It's
25
just,
out next year.
25 out of next year's.
that's just fun with numbers is all. I mean,
That's it.
because if you buy it this year, then we'll reduce our beginning balance, and then you won't have to worry about a budget item. It's just a reduction in beginning balance.
Take it out of the contingency.
And, well, you have,
2,500.
Yeah.
There is no contingency.
okay,
No, I was thinking of the city.
I'm just gonna take it out of there and we'll,
What if we just,
because that,
is there anything else that you said?
Not at this point, we start to look at larger capital projects, their SBC funds.
So we could actually move that other, the rest of that 7,500 or 5,000, increase that transfer to reserve. So if we take the 75 out of next year's budget, we just move that to the reserve, increase that reserve for future projects.
The 7,500 for security cameras?
Yeah, that's in the 23-24. They're gonna do it in 22-23 budget.
The two cameras you're talking about, Jason, is located at the facilities location or the park location? Do we have cameras at the plant?
The water plant, no,
Should we?
yes,
That'd be out of water, though, not out of park.
and I was gonna get to that one.
Okay, never mind.
For that, I did not. I don't know what they-
so on the cable is a thought to take the $7,500 and move it to reserve. Or take the $7,500 out and move it to contingency for the general fund. Which way would the budget committee like to go?
That's some part project shouldn't be done.
7,500 for contingency. What I was thinking, we can put payroll costs in.
Yeah, I agree with Brian, just looking at larger projects is nice. You need to build up contingency in that fund.
Yeah.
I agree.
Payroll fund.
I talked the wrong name.
Well, could we leave it with Ross, once he runs the numbers, it either goes into general fund contingency, or if it's not needed there, if we're covered, it would go into park reserve. Increase the,
I would split it between 25 and park reserve and then might have a big contingency. For now.
So then I'm going to change the reserve transfer to 7,500. And I'm not gonna make any other changes on. Excuse me.
Security camera, that zero.
Yeah, it's gonna go to 0. I'm sorry.
Anything else on park department?
Moving on to the next page. I really think there's not a lot. I mean, we can debate these numbers, I think, as much as you want to. Because we've got new construction coming in. And I don't have a sense for any other numbers than what's here. I think it's important looking at a hind cast and kind of steering the ship by the wake. These numbers are about as good as you can get, so. With that, questions?
just double check, I think if I calculated right, the Indian balance was, 48,953, I think it's 954. Might double check.
Well, that's probably because there's pennies in there someplace that
Yeah.
rounded up or down.
Questions on the general fund planning department? Next page.
Okay, I'm done with the general fund unless there's some other issue or something that we want to bring up.
We're good.
I'm moving on to water. I think, as we discussed, this is an important topic for the city, and with that, I'm gonna turn it over to Jason and let him talk to you about the water fund, and if we make it on into the sewer fund.
Yeah, if you guys can note, operation and maintenance has been pretty much on track. You look at your current actuals, what's gonna be adopted.
Do we rotate the
Wait,
page or
let's-
you want?
Let's go back and pay. We resources.
You're looking at your user fees. Here you're looking at your beginning balance, or user fees. The way we've been trending pretty well, as you can see, we made a significant jump, which there again gained us. Two capital projects, we are looking at the 4%. The one thing I really waver with is, let us get done with the rate study to get an actual or what our rates might look like, with Pentice and with the water budget committee relating that back to us. Working grant, we're hoping to utilize that in a really high level enterprise study with the city of Hillsborough and Carlton. Any questions on that one?
Yeah, so did we actually get the 200,000 last year? Did it sign?
May I
Yeah.
interrupt you here for a second? So, as part of kind of the city's grant program, I've looked into the Merkley grant. That money is sitting there, it's a line item, it's available, but we have to apply for a grant to get it. As far as I know, there's been no documentation that's done that application. Excuse me, I think it's allergy time.
That was last year, so that doesn't,
So what we've done is we've talked to John Christensen at AKS. And said, if you had $192,000, how would you spend it? And he's given us 3 projects, which you'll see in the water fund. To spend that money on, and that's the way I'm gonna write it. For the things that are in this budget. Hopefully we'll get that money this year. I hate to leave it sitting there because people that give earmarks go, well, shoot, we gave them your part. It took me 2 years to spend it.
we did not get that correct.
Well, the answer is maybe.
Because they've already awarded it,
They've awarded it, but we have to apply for the grant in order to get the money out of the bank.
but it's a year, so you're applying for next year's grant, not last year's.
Well, the
Because last year's is already.
the earmark came through a House bill that was the previous year even. So we didn't spend any of the Merkley money last year, even though it was in the budget for $200,000. That's why your beginning balance right now is so high.
But the question is, if we
Sure.
didn't apply for the $200,000 Merkley grant, we don't have it in our bank account.
Again, we don't have it in our
So
bank account.
if you apply, for it,
Mhm.
are you going to get the 200,000 from last year or the 192 from next year?
It's the 192 for next
So
year
200,000 is.
goes
that.
into your beginning balance.
Mhm.
That's why your beginning balance is $400,000 because we didn't spend that 200 as well,
Because we didn't get it.
because we didn't get it, so.
Wait a minute, if you put that in the beginning balance for
Yeah.
this year, and you add it as a resource for this year, I'm double dipping it.
No. I'm sorry, I
kind
shouldn't,
of
I shouldn't have brought the beginning balance into the conversation. We're not spending the 200,000. It's not an expense last year, and it's not an income last year. It's going to be an income this year and an expense this year. Okay,
The 200,000 isn't part of this year's, the 2023.
this current
beginning
budget,
balance.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
good.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have brought that.
Well, the 400,000 beginning balance,
All I can say is I've been looking at a lot of numbers and
Yeah.
it's okay, so we're straight. The, line item 558,685, does that include the 4% increase?
yes, and I was just trying to look up. Where it is. We're already we have already collected in user fees about $550,000 to date. The 450,000 number that's in the budget for last year was bad budgeting. Erroneous number or something, but it didn't work out.
Okay, so if we've already elected almost that amount, we will by the end of the year. Are we going to increase rates by another 4%
No,
after July?
my estimate for how much we'll collect for the end of the year, which is a divide by 10 and multiply times 12, basically, so on a linear basis. I've included 4% on the end of that number. I don't have the numbers for you. User fees right now, to date, we've collected the 568,000.
I think what I'm
So-
asking is when are we gonna include that 4% increase that you stated?
Yeah,
at the beginning of
I'm
the
sorry,
budget? Yes.
that's a bad budget number on my part. Because we've collected more than I anticipated. I built that number a month ago on information that I had.
Okay.
And so, it needs to be updated. Because we're gonna make more than the 568, we're gonna be about 600,000 this year. Just doing quick math.
When was the last time we increased our rates?
October at 9%.
Okay. And you said we're gonna increase next year's rate by 4%.
Yes,
Is that gonna happen on July 1st?
that's my anticipation if the budget committee approves it.
Yeah, we don't improve the increase, we just improve the budget. And it's.
Right, well, so
That's
budget,
just to be an increase, it's up to these books. to be an increase.
that's right.
All right,
The-
so this number does include the.
It should, but it's gonna be reworked because I have better,
That was my only question.
okay. I have better information, so I'm gonna rework that.
Yeah. Numbers on the phone.
All right, moving forward here, page 180. Operations and maintenance, like I was stating, has been tracking pretty well, as you can see. Year in and year out from 2020 to 2023. So we had small increases, in regards to what Ross was speaking about, materials. Parts and things of that nature of all increased, about 6%. We're doing away with an FTE, which is the utility worker 2. There's not, there again, if you're looking at that, there's no large increases to contract services, maintenance, chemical costs have gone down. Food and travel, well, stayed about the same. Any questions?
Yes, on line item number 28, year replacement. I thought you guys had done all of them.
We have large meters, still with the distribution, or excuse me, with the district, 7 meters left.
So I know you're gonna change the numbers on that personnel services, but last year when we talked about replacing all the meters with new electronic meters, that was gonna be a reason we could reduce the FTE from 25% in these two funds.
Yeah, but I'll say this, after going through the staffing that we've gone through, and seeing what the utility clerk has done for us. Those numbers are okay.
When you have received any updated as far as liability insurance, those new rates are gonna be. They normally go up every year.
So I'm not sure that all those are gonna have. Large amount of it.
I don't have any new information, maybe Kim does.
I'm just curious if that 26.5 is gonna be sufficient enough for.
It wasn't, was house. Wasn't enough. Yeah. Ross, do you have the ones for the liability? Cause I think we were. Wait, I have it.
You're right at a 26,650, so you're just over. This year.
That's what we paid. 26,650.
Is that go July to July? I just lost where I was. What line of it? Oh,
Might need to bump that up so it's closer to like 30,000.
And we jumped it from 23 to 26.
is that what we have right now with the 26?
26,
Five,
Yeah.
used it all.
yeah, you use 26,650. So you were $100 over. Not knowing what the rates are.
No, I thought she was supposed to get this one.
She was.
I mean, I'd be able to take that out of, unless there's a reason why attorney and legal fees doubled, a
Yeah.
little bit more than doubled.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
wonder.
Huh?
There's an explanation,
Never mind then, don't take it out of there.
and it's gonna be even more than that, but there's an explanation.
Cool.
Yeah, 10,000 for a board, then gonna be an annual number thing. Okay. If you got cleaning ball, not grudging out.
No, they don't. Yes, they remove segment, and then they look over your reservoir study.
Wait, okay, cool.
Yeah, I apologize, I mean, they've been really hard to pin things down, because there's one company out of Climate Falls that does all of them are everybody's, all of them, yeah.
Yeah, it might be sort of.
What would be the thought if we moved the liability insurance to 30,000? Which cover any,
27 would be 3%.
I think maybe higher than 3.
27 and 350 would be. I've got a note to check.
At 30,000, that would cover it for any.
So I'll just raise that number to
Yeah.
30,000. Anybody have objection to that?
Where are you taking that out of?
It just come out of contingency,
Mhm.
and reduce your contingency. by-
Actually, your rates are gonna go up substantially,
Yeah.
so you're gonna be able to cover that.
Yeah. You get up to the user fees, so. That's this whole thing that changed.
Any more questions?
Rate postage. For family home.
Well, I figured it's going more electronic, start to do later.
1700.
Stop putting it in the bill. I just do it online.
You can do that. You can go on your portal and pick how you want to do it. There's still 400. Did we spend all 2,000 last year? I don't have the actuals, but it's for years, it's been over thousands.
What do you,
Yeah, we do mailings and stuff, then we want to do stuff and want to go.
Here's 1157.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I'm about 1,200 right now.
15.
Yeah, I think that's the idea.
what line item are you on?
38.
38,
38, you wanna go to
1,500. You take 2,000?
Put it to 2, just to be on the safe side.
That's what's gonna happen.
Postage goes up.
through all electronic?
And the one jump it to 65 cents. Postage.
Probably about 60.
Okay, which,
Wow.
what,
They're asking the post office staff.
are we on? Are we,
Page 20,
yeah, we're done with 38, though, we moved it to $2,000.
$2,000, correct.
Okay, anything else on that page?
Just those two, line 20 and line 38.
Okay, I have those noted.
All right. 21.
So capital outlay projects, we're looking at currently, the Third Street Water Distribution Project. We've generated to the point where we have gotten to our RFP, which is our request for proposal from contractors. So all the surveying is done on that project. That's gonna be pretty big capital project. I'm looking at taking the intake structure out this year and just building it. We're working with ODFW for a design on that, so I don't think or even foresee that happening this year. It's way too years out.
What line item, Teresa?
No, that is two, but two, I think that's going to zero then. Well, no. Comparisons.
So line item 2 is going to 0. Yes,
Yes, that's.
okay,
Question, Jason, the 100,000 from the. It's called a log jam contractor. Are they paying for that or is it coming to the city?
Coming to the city with a text to the damming for the entity.
So do we need to, in the water resources, do we need to show 100,000 income?
That's a question for Ross.
where are you getting the 100,000 from?
We had granted. We had $100,000 granted to us from the subdivision. Our intake structure for the damming. Get us to reach our requirements from water resources.
I don't see that as income anywhere. I'm not certain. I haven't.
I just thought
We
we
haven't
need,
received it.
we need to add it into the budget so that you can spend it, right?
So how do we get that $100,000?
Coming from the contractor as
The developer.
or the developer of the new subdivision.
So is that part of terms and conditions or what is it? So,
Isn't that a reimbursement though? It's not,
Not reimbursement.
it's not reimbursement? Okay.
so who wrote him a bill? Anybody? I mean,
It was a,
Part of the stipulations for the.
terms and conditions. So
Subdivision.
when can we expect that?
Had already, they pulled permits and started to build, we should have already gotten the check.
Do we just need to send them an invoice?
It's my understanding that AKS was gonna draw up that design and then once they have the design in hand, they were gonna write that check. The design process is just taking longer to reduce that Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife. And they wanted to have some input on that. The design procurement of everything is just moving a lot slower.
So that check will reasonably be expected in the next fiscal year.
Correct.
Okay. I'm on page 19 and I'm gonna check where that check is before I add the 100,000, but looks like you have an extra 100,000 in sources.
because it's already designated. Go out to the,
So what if we can't do that, Jason? What if Department of Fish and Wildlife says no longer?
Well,
Do we return those funds?
so the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife, when they visit the site. Agreed to the terms, but the terms were, we had to go to their specifications on design, so. In a sense, everything's gonna be granted, it's just more or less working through how slow they are through their design process. So the money's gonna be there regardless, ODFW is just making a design that's gonna be within that 100,000 range. Does that answer your question, Dave?
Yes.
Okay.
So then do we have capacity to do that design in the next fiscal year? Or is that, so we just scratched the intake structure for $10,000.
Mhm.
Do we, what are we gonna do with that 100,000? Is it gonna sit there a year or is it, have you
No,
got
that project, once we have in-stream work period, That's when we're gonna put that damming in place. So it will happen this coming.
So
Your industry.
which project is that?
We have to add it. I suppose.
Okay, what is it called?
Project.
What is it called?
Right now, I call it water.
Yeah.
Call it, I don't care what it's called.
They call it rock check dam. It's called it. So, a rock check.
Rock check,
Huge
yeah.
boulders in it. Yeah, it was back. Yeah, it does, it rolls off its own.
The dam broke.
Well, you can't have it.
They take that in, Ross? Is it gonna be $100,000? I mean, is it 100 for 100? Is that what's going?
No.
Okay, that's in addition to page 21.
Right.
We have 100,000 income on page 19 and 100,000 spent on page 21.
Yes,
Right, so another calculated project for us is gonna be the valve replacement on Highway 240. It's gonna be $100,000. And $42,000 for an all street design to get that one ready for capital projects.
so if you do the math with 75, 75 and 42, it strangely equals 192, which is the Berkeley grant on the other side.
There you go.
Pearson?
Yeah.
Why do you have anything for vehicle lease? I thought you were going that one.
We're gonna get to that here when we get to sewer problem.
Okay, even though it's in water fund?
Yeah, I mean, we could pretty much take that out of there. I talked to Ross about this. We're gonna transfer out of the sewers.
One thing you might kind of back on 19, you have this transfer in from water debt service. I noticed in last year's budget, everything's been said 17% increases for debt service only. But yet there's a statement in last year's budget that any excess would be transferred over to water fund. I'd like to see that transferred in from debt service removed. I think that's a holdup on some people's part. 19, it's line 9.
You just want that to come out,
Yeah, and I'd like it to come out of the budget document.
out of the text.
Yeah,
That's fine.
that way it's just said all along that it's strictly for debt service. But then you say that you're gonna transfer in the excess over to the water fund. It's like, are you telling me the truth? or-
I don't know. I would never take money out of debt service.
I wouldn't either, but
I'd rather it accumulate there and then defease the debt when you.
pay off early if you can. But
We're crossing the touchdown.
we're gonna cross the text out and just makes it cleaner. That way there's no,
That'll just be a blank line there.
that way nobody can, you're saying one thing, but over here you're saying something different.
So moving right along page 22. Before you go further, I have to explain something that happened here. Excuse me, the cash on hand for 22-23, is it 246,691? That was erroneously budgeted, and that number didn't exist after an audit. Audit looked at it and said it was worth $30,000. So your contingency was overstated and your cash on hand was overstated. So
Didn't answer my question.
you're,
Yeah, I think we all have the same question on that page.
I looked, if you look at last year's budget, there's a $200,000 floating in the middle of the fund. And I think that somehow or another got included as part of your beginning balance. I don't know if it wasn't, but And see how the mistake was made. So, a more realistic number is $30,000 for your beginning balance. And that's what I started this year with, since nothing's been spent so far to date.
$250,000 with a cooler.
Figure out-
$250,000 with a cooler.
Well, yeah. Would have been great.
We should just. If there's.
You send the water filter media.
Yeah.
Wasn't that taken care of, we're still doing the.
Yeah, June 19th, that project kicks off,
So that was budgeted this year,
but all the budgeted funds came out last year, I mean, the contract's already been signed with Delta.
so what about this 15,000?
It's just in case, once we get to the undergrade of the system, if there's any kind of maintenance that has to be due to that, it gives us that buffer.
Okay. Don't have a problem with this. We opened it last year, budget, this is like.
So I don't have any changes on the page. Nope. Moving right on.
Sorry to disappoint.
SDCs. Gets back to the kind of reserve for contingency. We got lots of money there, but it's tough finding projects that fit the requirement.
I will say, just so everybody knows here. In regards to say the Third Street project, we're gonna be using 20% of those SDC funds to help fund that project. You know, so that's kind of how those waters work. It's kind of standard practice. I don't know, Ross, if you have anything to add to that, it's usually 20% towards any kind of a system upgrade.
No, and the other one you'll see in there is the 48,000, which matches the Merkley grant. And that's a requirement and it can be used at SDCs. And that's per advice of our engineer from AKS, so we're responding.
So that 190,000 actually jumps by 48,000 for that. Does that have to be spent on the same project that Mercury grants been spent on?
I think that it does. That's how they get you, you know, they give you this money and then they make you spend. No.
I have a question on SDCs in general. Some of it is this fund and then the sewer fund and then the park fund. So I'm just gonna ask it here since this is the first time we're running into it. So in this one, your income under the system for development charges equals approximately 21 new homes. Correct? That's 139 divided by the 6,496. Which is, you're anticipating about 21 new homes. In the sewer fund, it's 20. If you do the math in the sewer fund for SDCs, you're anticipating 20 houses. If you look at the park SDC, you're anticipating 1. So there's some disconnect. The SDCs are not matching up. If you're anticipating 20, then the park SDCs and all the other ones should match, but they do not. So,
Can I make a note there and I'll go back and double check those, what are.
yeah, just check on the, especially, I mean, it just jumps out at you if you're looking at the park SDC and it's like $4,000 and it just isn't. So are we just actually anticipating that many new houses?
I mean, we're putting in 50-60 homes.
Oh, that's, I keep always.
So why only 21 then?
That'd be my question. I don't. think it's your SDCs, we want to take me out as far as having my.
Yeah.
One of the things they did say that they would not all be completed. I would say it would be more than days, I guess.
Okay, I forgot that.
But don't the SDC implement the permit process, not in completion, or is it
On
on completion?
Yeah, each home pulls a permit.
On,
That's what it-
okay, on tolling, they get it.
Yeah.
Or we get it.
They will pull all those at the same
Okay.
time.
No.
Yeah.
Expensive.
I'm just saying you might have a whole lot more to put in the park.
Blush fund. Okay, so on this page, all I have is check SDCs, and I'll make those numbers line up. At least that, or have a good explanation why they don't want it. So I'm done with water. Anybody else have something burning for water? So we're about an hour and a half into this. Do you wanna go through sewer, take a break, call it a night? Where's your,
Why don't we take a break and then we'll come back in 10 and get a couple more.
okay,
Well, we'll review the sewer, that way you'll have any updates. And you can do the updates and that way you can bring them back to the next evening. Hear those and then finish up.
Probably 11. Would be a good number.
We added
Well, on our left, yeah, or
12 on line item 20, Ross, on page 26.
miscellaneous tools?
Line 20, liability insurance. It's a red blank.
Yeah, and you want what, 12,000?
Yes. The same with lines 31 through 33. We need to put something in there. Pause refund is 500, still a good number.
yeah,
Probably 1,500.
Stay there. Do we have an actual for that so far? I gave all my actions, so no. Ross, do you have an actual for line 32, attorney's fees out of the suite?
See how quick I can get there.
Right, $9.99.
Yeah. Obviously, you seem to be trending the same way as 500.
5,500 and that's 33. You think that there was a change on 32 for the legal fees?
1,500.
1,500.
Have a post, where we raise that into 25, is that okay?
Which one was it you were looking for the sewer legal?
It was $9.99.
Yeah, the attorney legal fees out of sewer. They said it was $9, so.
$9.99.
Oh, you already got the number.
We'll leave it at 1,500 being the line.
Okay, I need to catch up here. I'm on the sewer. I've got line 20 is gonna go to 12,000. And then,
Line 31.
Yes.
500.
okay,
Line 32, 1,500. Line 33, 5,500.
okay,
Yeah, so, postage. We raised it, water, and then we raise it here. Just split the difference, right? Go to 2,500 here also. That one good too.
Look to be what we want to too.
Yeah, we need that one.
What, Jolly, really went up that much, huh?
Yep.
Wow.
Getting rid of it these days.
It's actually being better, so, you know, that's a good thing.
Fuel went up, freight went up.
anything else on page 26?
Emergency services. I think we need to carry that over because there's nothing for. That's just maybe $5.
Yeah, emergency services. I don't think you've spent anything this year on.
Didn't have any emergencies. Like I say, sorry.
So adding 5,000.
Yeah. Line 39.
We were doing AED for public works yet.
Yeah, that's.
Which line was that? You're gonna add something for emergency services?
Yeah, 39.
$5,000.
I think that's.
Same as last year, yeah.
What is the contemplation to spend 5,000 on?
We need to get them an AED.
Oh, you actually got something in mind, okay?
You're gonna be that option.
But we didn't spend 5,000. Lot.
No.
No.
So then-
Carry it over at all.
Or we can just buy one, but zero for next year.
You say we can order one tomorrow. if you want.
Yeah.
Just get it.
That's how long that process takes. Like. You're gonna send me the information. I don't know how long.
If you want me to order one?
It's fairly quick.
Yeah, we can, I mean, we can order one this week. yeah.
All right. good.
Little.
Yeah, I think there's other emergencies.
Right.
I went for water plant with the
Yeah.
10 years.
Okay, carry over and spend last year. Yeah, I like that.
You better buy it.
Yeah, we need it at 5, so, line 39, Ross, 5,000.
Okay,
Spend it like you got it. Yeah.
So we're at 27 now. Not have a vehicle.
Yeah, I'm looking for that as well.
so are we on page 27?
27.
We are.
Now we're, from the capital outlay, you can see, we're transferring from contingency $60,000 to purchase a new utility truck.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So that's why.
That's why it's
Perfect.
You have the same option to buy the leases for the dollars.
My first time.
They're looking to go through the same.
Wow.
When that was the reasons for the government. Program, so they're looking to do that one.
One time payment, or are you gonna go 5 years?
I was. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ross, but we were looking to purchase, we weren't going to go through the lease process, we were just using.
Not for the truck. We talked about the Vector for,
The lease purpose.
yeah.
Okay. So for the truck, it was just a purchase.
I still think we should
Transfer
have
out.
a line item and build that up just like the police force, because I remember, I've been here a long time, but I remember when it would be so exciting to get a used car from Hillsborough.
I mean, like, really,
No, I agree.
and then they implemented their fund and that just built over time and now they can do that, so I don't wanna see that line item go away, wherever you put it, I don't.
So if
wanna
we
see
want
it.
it back into water, we'd have to put that 7,500 back in and then.
Did we take it out?
Yeah.
It was not
It
there.
wasn't there.
Because you said you
Stays
want-
online for 3 years, just because we don't have anything in there today, it's gonna go away next year.
Okay,
It'll
But-
stay for 3 years.
But there's no money in there.
Yeah, that's.
which is fine if we're not gonna spend it.
So one of the things I would suggest you guys think about doing. You've got the police vehicle reserve fund. You ought to just make that an equipment reserve fund and put money from all of the things in there. As opposed to, as opposed to
Which
just.
is my understanding, like, if we put 7,500, if we. It didn't build.
It didn't build.
Exactly, so that's why I was like.
Why, and would it be better to do an equipment reserve for water, sewer, and for police instead of a police vehicle reserve, just do equipment reserve?
That's what I was saying, yeah.
And do the same thing in water and sewer.
Well, I would just. Put the money into that reserve account and list out what it is you're trying to buy. It's kind of like you do with your council. To the,
Or donation.
yeah, the donations, just have a line item in there for, we're saving for this, we're saving for
So
that.
your police comes out of general fund, whereas water and sewer are coming out of user fees.
Yeah, I guess that really doesn't matter that much once it goes into that reserve fund.
But I just think it'd be cleaner though.
It does matter.
I'll tell you,
If we're having trouble with the general fund right now,
yeah.
if he was to make a large purchase out of an expenditure fund that has general funds in it, it's gonna deplete that even more.
Well, if it meant adding two new funds, one for water and one for sewer. I'd say just do what you're doing now and leave the line item and let that line item build every year. There's no reason why you can't. Have 10,000 this year in that line item, and next year you just move it to 20,000. And let that line item build, because once again, your beginning balance builds if you don't spend the money. Right. If you don't spend the 10,000, it should roll up and back down again.
It should, until you got a new council and budget committee and they come in and say, oh, you've got 100,000 sitting there. We're gonna buy new tables and chairs or whatever.
Well, I apologize to everyone, we can build off of it, I'm going to build off of it. I just was under the impression.
I think equipment reserve fund, public, I mean, you can do public works, just do a one fund that each water and sewer contribute to equal.
Next year.
So,
All right.
excuse me, but where are we? You got.
We're not changing, we're not gonna change it, so they need a vehicle, we'll buy the vehicle next year, and we'll leave that line item in, and then they can start building up for the next vehicle 3 years. down the road.
Or we're gonna add it back to water.
Remember, we scratched it, so it's back to what it was.
Well, we just- It doesn't have to have a number there, it's not gonna go away.
Yeah,
We just don't spend, we're not spending on that this year, next year, if they want to put money in there, we'll just put it in, even if it's just a dollar. On the book.
There's nothing there. It's not gonna
There's
be.
nothing there, so there's no water,
Page 19.
21,
Oh, Lord, we're going the wrong way.
Oh, sorry.
the vehicle leaves. There's nothing there,
Right, they had 7,500 last year.
that's last year.
So hang on,
There's
whoa.
nothing.
So it's, what do you got, Ross?
So a vehicle lease, what is it you're trying to do with that?
Instead of a lease, that should actually be transferred to equipment reserve fund. So 7,500 out of water, 7,500 out of sewer goes into a equipment reserve fund for public works.
We have to start a new fund, right?
Yeah, because there is no public work.
You got a public works reserve fund now that you're transferring 5,000 to.
Yeah, there's
Where
other requirements.
Where are you putting the new fund?
It would be a reserve fund.
Okay.
Yeah.
Equipment reserve fund.
So there's line 13, they're on page 21, transfer out to Public Works Reserve, 5,000.
You increase, take that 7,500, you were gonna do vehicle lease and add to that,
Then you're growing that.
you're growing that.
for
fund.
whatever.
Okay.
So if you did the same thing
I just wanna make sure there isn't one for this building for them.
in, I think you gotta have,
This function. So in 27, you've already got a transfer out public works reserve. It's 5,000. Just
What-
like you do with the sewers, I mean, the water, on page 21, so that's 10,000 that's going in from water and sewer to public works reserve.
Yeah.
are you gonna take that lease?
You
That
can
would-
add 15,000.
So you,
75 and 75, from each one is 15,000 plus the 10,000. You've got 20, you want $25,000 in the public
public
works
works reserve fund.
Okay,
So if you, so we would need increase on line 21 to 12,500 for that public works transfer.
yeah, that goes in both the water and the.
The water one,
Page 21, what line item?
line 13. Go from 5,000 to 12,500.
And then also on page 27.
Hang on a second.
Sure, sure.
So you're on page 21, and what do you want to do? You want to transfer out the Public Works Reserve instead of 5,000, you want to go to 7,000?
12,500.
And why do you go to 12,500?
Because we're doing away with that vehicle lease of 7,500. That we zeroed out, but it's over in sewers doing 7,500.
Okay,
And then on page 27. You would move that to 12,500.
Line 9.
Zeroing out line 9 and moving it to.
And we're zeroing out line 2.
Yeah.
In page
Well,
27.
it's already zeroed out.
Yeah,
it is.
So line 9 becomes from 5,000 becomes what?
Nothing.
12,500.
Yeah,
line 9.
increasing by.
That way we're 5,500, putting 25,000 into the reserve this year.
That's building that public works reserve,
okay.
for equipment.
So what else on page 27?
We have the manhole rehab of 100,000. And those are my capital outlay projects for next fiscal year.
Yeah, we'll read that. Okay, that's fine.
Is that it for 27?
There's no questions.
Okay, so I only have one change on 27, which is making the transfer out 12,500. Okay,
Got the one line, right, Russ?
the what?
Got the change
Yes,
in water?
I did. Thank you. Okay, so page 28.
I got a question on 24. What is Ellis Garden?
Ellis Garden is a lift station on the end of Second Street.
I'll add lift station.
But we have no figures in 21 through 23.
Unfortunately. So moving forward with that, there's a lot of redundancy as far as verbiage, but it's gonna be a rehab for that system. For tag automation group. Any questions there?
Don't we need to fill those lines?
You gotta put numbers.
Platinum place for SCADA, this improvement.
The problem is we didn't spend any money this year, and we got budget there, it should be expected, and I kind of tasked Jason with you know, don't bite off more than you can chew. You want to chew what you bite.
Yeah, I mean, like, was actually built, so they can roll to the point this year, so they use sporadic, sprawl house projects that weren't.
Plant replacement.
There,
That equipment did come out of that equipment reserve fund. Right?
where we at, Brian, we going back?
Oh, no, this is the sewer system reserve. This is where we're gonna add. We would need to add the transfer in. Oh, where's the public?
Back here, the public works.
I'll take care of the transfers.
Okay.
Any questions?
No, we can.
There again, looking at big numbers with STC. You know, like Ross was stating, I mean, it's just kind of muddy waters as far as the usability of those STCs. So we looking at one of the STC projects, manhole rehabilitation, all in there with 20%. Again, from STCs, so with that $100,000 line item.
Don't we need to expense that out though? You're showing you're not spending anything out of sewer SDC.
Does there need to be a line item for what you're gonna spend out of the fund balance?
If you're gonna spend something, but so far we don't have anything, do you have something, Jason, that
Yeah, it's gonna be that manhole rehab. Sorry, I didn't state that to you, but that's gonna be supported with that 20%.
how much are you gonna spend?
100,000.
All 100,000 is coming out of SDC?
No, there's 100,000 budgeted on line 27,
Capital outlay,
page 27, line item 5.
gonna be supported 20% of STC.
So wait a minute, is that 100,000 the total you're gonna spend? Or you're gonna spend 120,000?
120,000.
Okay.
So 20,000.
So Ross, we're gonna pull 20,000 over out of the,
I got it.
okay. Will we change that 100 to 120, or do we add a line item?
You know, if we're at either line
So if
item
you're-
29.
If you're using SDCs, you've got balance in there. It's just gonna reduce your contingency to increase a capital project to 20,000. Is that what I'm hearing? Okay. So then I have one ad there, which is manhole rehab or whatever the title will be $20,000 in contingency will reduce by that.
Right?
Yeah, so
Was that replacing them?
No, that's rehabbing I issues. So it's fixing all of the inflow and infiltration that we get. And then so we can support the wastewater system, not having so much. Yeah, it's like Cal stated last thing, 500 to 600,000 gallons. Or water that we're not. And then it's pretty good. Yeah.
So-
Jason for doing all these projects.
No, I think, like, everybody got a real asset to help me, just kind of like I stated, let's hone in on 2 or 3 or 2 or 1, that we can get done and really make a difference.
But you're doing, thank you.
Yeah.
So next meeting,
yes, we gotta set that before we close, so. When are you available, Ross?
any day but the 26th. I'm so sorry. Things come up in my life, unfortunately. I got no place.
Starting that, right?
Yeah,
All right, so,
I understand that Tuesday is not a good day because that's somebody has the room.
recovery group.
Yeah, recovery group. So it should be Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
And
Um,
Monday,
It could be Monday.
we need to check the time. What day are we talking about?
24.
28th, whatever.
It's not the 26th.
24th work.
I can do 24.
I'm just thinking if to give him enough time to make all those changes and updates and make sure everything's double checked. Go for the 20, we go to the 27th, just to be nice. I don't know.
I feel a little better about the 27th.
Okay. What do you agree?
27 works.
I wouldn't be able to be here, but that's.
I don't wanna do it Friday.
So is 27th working or not?
Or would May 3rd work, give you more time, Ross, to get
The only thing is I need to advertise. If we go to the third,
that would give you time to advertise.
I don't think it'd give me time to advertise to hit the council
Are we
meeting.
talking on a Thursday?
No,
Wednesday.
Third's a Wednesday.
May 3rd.
I'm not certain I have enough time. I'd rather do the week prior,
27th.
yeah, 27th or 28th, or the 24th. I can turn this stuff around. I've got that model working. It's, so the model's working now.
Oh, that's good.
But you guys may not get to see this stuff before we meet.
Is that gonna give you time to get it in the paper though? Meet the paper deadline.
Well, that's why I don't want to do the third. I'd rather do the 24th, so
Of April,
of April, yes.
how are you gonna make the deadline in the paper for the 24th?
Well, I think don't they publish on Friday?
Yeah,
Yeah, but you have to have it in. I think it's Tuesday.
Well, if we meet on the 24th and you guys take your action, I can advertise the public hearing.
And that's the only one we need to advertise, right?
No, we gotta advertise the budget. Really.
No, we don't, if we have to advertise the public hearing, we've already advertised this meeting. We don't have to advertise the next one if we state it in here. But we have to advertise the public hearing.
Which is, as councils.
That I was trying to hit council could always have a special meeting. Sorry, council. But
I'd have to have another hearing in June.
and it's just a public hearing, it's not action, so. Council doesn't have to take action, they just have to hear it.
so we have the 24th or the 27th? Which one?
Well, I'm not gonna be here at the conference, and if Ross needs help, then I can.
But
I can do it on the 24th to the 27th. You know, it's the.
I think if I can advertise by the 5th of May, Cinco de Mayo, I got the time, I think I can. I have to check. One way or another, the worst case scenario is council may have to do a special meeting.
Could they do their public hearing in June?
I'd rather not, but I'd like to give the public an opportunity to have a month between proposed to approved and adopted.
Yeah, I think if we put it in a week early, so if we do the 27th, then somebody, if we put the notice in on the 28th, it should make it to the 5th.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know whether the 5th is enough time, but we can also advertise online. I gotta go back through the dates.
Well, all we have to do is tell Pam Kirsch
How long it takes a motion?
and the whole city will come.
27th, everybody approved?
I think if you just nod your head, it's fine. I don't think you need a motion.
I can make it work.
5:30 on the 27th?
5:30 to 27. And then
Okay.
all you need is a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Yeah.
No, sorry.
No, those are yours.